local time, and this morning I'd like to talk. Good morning, and thank you for joining. He deals with corporate car hire. Good morning. So far with what has
from Germany, from Czech Republic, but even Kenyans. So what happens? That since last winter, we registered interesting figures showing the recovery of tourism after some years of crisis. I guess everybody of us know what we are speaking about.
Right.
And actually, even in the perspective of the August election, the reservation showed good figures. It means that the people choose to come.
The reservations prior to the August 8th elections, there were still good figures.
Yeah, there were still good figures, and even during election, there were still good figures. So, just before election, just during the election. Now we're speaking of arrivals. After reservation, people arrive. And so the arrivals were very good. And also bookings for the forthcoming months were good.
After August?
Yeah,
still good.
That. What happened is a few days after the ruling
of September 1st.
Yes, of September 1st. That's what happened, that the booking were dropping a little, and also we got some cancellation. As for now, just for the month of October, November, but what we are feeling is that now we are going to receive cancellation from December high season.
Okay, and you would attribute those cancellations and the cold feet, as it were, to the political situation that we have in the country?
Yep.
Okay.
Not because, you see, we don't want to go through analysis or Kenya and Kenyans have to choose their own way.
Precisely, yes.
For sure.
We are not discussing the politics of it, but it's good to know that it affects us and how it affects us. Let me come to you.
But the uncertainty affects any kind of business, especially tourism, you know, is a very sensitive kind of business. Holiday makers, they choose according to their emotion, not according, well, then maybe they can check facts or something, but first step, but most of the time, it's the only step, it's just emotion. And uncertainty killed any kind of good emotion about this.
Absolutely. All right, let me come to you, Antonio Gola. You're dealing with supplies and you supply corporates. Would you say you can feel a direct effect of our political climate currently on the business?
Thank you so much, Michael. I think I would just first of all start by thanking you for inviting me to your studios and to discuss this very important issue. Now, on to your point, I think generally speaking, you know, since Kenya got into all these political affairs, all these political issues, I think there has been a direct impact on businesses, definitely, because most of the clients currently, or even before the elections, you realize that they, like, first of all, they just decided, let's wait for all these politics to get done, and then we can now get back.
As we were now getting to the 8th.
Yeah, as we were getting to the 8th. Yeah, so most clients wanted to just wait and get done with politics, and then now come back into business. But now, surprisingly, you know, as we stand now, we are still into politics. Yeah, so it's been a prolonged political season, which has directly impacted on the businesses.
And you've said impacted. Is it a positive or negative impact? It's good to get that clear.
Yes, it's been a negative impact, definitely. Okay. Yeah, it's been a negative impact because, you know, when you're not having clients, when clients are not coming to ask for your services, then, I mean, it's...
Obviously, there's a negative impact to the income.
Negative.
All right, Michael, you're in corporate car hire. So you're also dealing with corporates. And car hires, I don't know if, like the hotel industry, people are hiring more emotionally, because, you know, cars, it's more like a luxury. But before we get there, what's the effect that you've had from the political climate that we currently have?
There is a wait and see. People are... you know, are waiting to see there's a decline in terms of the numbers that were coming in. And, of course, there's a risk part of it. You know, you're scared that your vehicle asset could be damaged in the process. So it has affected the business negatively. But that said, you know, as a business owner, you need to, when you're working your risk opportunity platforms, you plan yourself. You know, you say, like, for instance, if you're going to have demonstrations Monday and Friday as it was announced, then you look at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. How do you optimize that?
How do you optimize on that?
How do you optimize on that? So planning is a key thing because, you know, reality is here. It's here with us. So how do you plan yourself and how do you move forward in terms of optimizing the business that's out there?
And we'll come to maybe the optimizing of that. But let me come back to you, Pietro. And at least with the hotel industry, you have the advantage in quotes because people mostly book in advance. Yes. So you're able to look at a list and say, okay, in December, we are looking at, our bookings are looking good, or you're able to interact with the client before. Is there a way that you possibly are able to interact with the client when they are canceling to find out what is your reason?
No, it's not easy for us because we don't work directly with clients. Between us and the clients, there is a trade system, a trade system involving tour packages. This means flights, other land arrangements, and it comes from big foreign agencies, which are distributed through retailers. So it's very complicated to interact directly with clients.
You don't have a direct link to the client.
We have just a small window we can interact is through the online travel agency, the portal. Sometimes we can speak with them, like Booking.com. Jacaranda Beach Resort is published on this online travel agencies. So sometimes we can speak a bit with them. And somebody of them told us, well, we will see after, you know.
We will see what happens. Now, one of the things I know that probably tourists and foreigners would depend on is perception, how they perceive the country to be. What is the perception, in your opinion, from the bookings that you have and from those that you've been able to interact with of their feeling about Kenya right now?
Actually, the feeling about Kenya started after some years to be very good.
Okay.
And we are confident that this won't end. We are confident, and we hope, of course, but we are confident. The matter is just about now, but for sure we hope that now with this new ballot, it will be a definite situation.
A definite situation. And
for any business, is necessary to have a definite situation. I will tell you more. Our beach area is really something special. It's because it's very long, 6 miles. It's marine park area. Is actually is very attractive, and is international tourism in even Kenya started to discovery step by step, slowly. But there is a plan of development, not only by us, by others, but you know, not only hotels, but small clubs on the beach. So it's becoming really an hotspot. You know, there will be a development, but in a sustainable way. Right. And to attract developers, we need this.
You need the stability. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Michael, you talked about you know, trying to keep the business resilient with innovative ideas and looking at where we are today. When do you expect, according to your projection, do you see business beginning to pick? Because even if, for instance, a president was sworn in tomorrow, and of course that's not going to happen, but even if you're sworn in tomorrow, business takes time to recover and, you know, regain the momentum. When do you foresee this happening?
We are hoping that things will be back, you know, quick. But I'm hoping by December, if we have a definite president, we will be able to move quickly in terms of getting back to business. Why am I saying this? Needs are there every day. You know, needs don't stop. And businesses are neutral. You know, there is no, the money has no political affiliation.
Right.
You know?
It rests in any pocket.
Yes, it has no political affiliation. So when you have needs and you need services, then you will go out to look for them. But for instance, if with a vehicle asset, if you have it out there and there's the danger of it being damaged, then you will wait back and say, okay, let's cancel this trip. You know, let's not go into town because there's a danger of us losing the asset that we have. Again, the other thing is when the roads are closed, then there's traffic snarl-up. You know, when there are traffic snarl-ups, then you can imagine if you have a client A who's supposed to be at point B and they are not there on time, then they'll ask you, you know, so how do we go about this? So I think since it's reality and we have to go through it, it's how do you rearrange yourself? You know, how do you work out, how do I best optimize this situation in terms of being able to service my client, being able to, you know, make ends meet as well in terms of having the numbers coming in.
All right.
Yes.
Anthony, how are you managing? Because obviously when the sales go down, people are holding back their money as they wait for things to unfold. How do you survive?
That's a very good question, Michael. To be honest with you, it's really tough because, you know, business is about you getting a client, getting the money. The funny thing is that right now, as he says, you know, needs are there. But then the next question is there money? Clients come, but then, of course, the circulation of money is also very poor. So you'll find most of the time you supplying a lot of goods, but then there's no money. So you have to wait for a longer period before you get your money back. So in terms of survival, I mean, you have to maximize on each and every opportunity that you get. That's what you maximize because you are not so certain about what's going to happen the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and Pietro, I know the hotel industry is also very delicate in the sense that, for instance, if you're running a hotel, just because you only have 2 clients, whereas maybe the bed occupancy is over 100, you may still have to run some things in the hotel. Electricity has still to run. You have your cooks to pay. You have the waiters. I mean, you're almost running the hotel from your pocket.
You have fixed expenses.
Yes,
always.
Exactly. So how do you...
Especially we are a huge hotel, huge gardens, many pools.
Precisely. How do you manage? Because I remember going to Mombasa, I think this could have been about a year ago, and we were in a big hotel, but we were only about 6 people in the whole hotel. How do you manage?
Thanks God that this is not our situation currently. We have figures in the hotel, but not that much, which we are showed before. Yeah, we are now. It's not high season, it's low season, so it was planned to have this figure. What we are really worried about is for the future, for the future bookings. Yeah. That's the most.
Because December normally you have very high turnouts, both locally and internationally.
Both.
Okay. Both. And when things are not politically stable, do you also have cancellation from local clients?
Yep. This happens because it makes the people not feeling to travel.
Again, because of safety.
Yeah.
There's a risk of trouble.
Yeah, we are not very close, you know. So the feeling of holiday makers is the same everywhere. Of course, a Kenyan know better the situation,
yes.
But maybe he has problem to travel.
Yeah, maybe getting from point A to B then becomes a problem. Yeah. Michael, we don't want to get into politics, but I'm sure you probably have a message that you'd want to have, you know, our leaders here, because when they are up there, they say when 2 bulls are fighting, and these are not just 2 bulls, these are a number of bulls that are fighting. It's the grass that suffers. And you as an entrepreneur, you are suffering the effects of what's happening at the top. What is your message that you would have to our leaders?
I will ask that everything be run peacefully. We are all Kenyans, and we want a peaceful nation. As business owners, we want that able environment, you know, to have guys do their business. So, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has an opinion, but after all is said and done, we'll settle back to our country that we love.
We have no other country to go to.
Yes, and we want to make it work. So anyone who's focused on making this country work will know that, let's be honest, let's go out there, let's finish this democratically, and let's have the country back so that we can do more business and so that needs can be met going forward. So a peaceful election that will deliver, happiness, that will deliver an enabling environment for business to progress.
All right.
Yes.
Anthony, why do you think politics affects our business so much? Because at the end of the day, if I'm selling food, for example, we've been, since August, or let me say, from the time that the campaigns have been going on, we've been fairly peaceful. We've not had incidences where, there's been too much lack of peace to a point where things halt. But if it is food, I need to eat. If it is fashion, we can still dress. What do you think affects us to a point where now business really slows down when the politics is playing up like it is right now?
I'm not an economist, but I think politics, when a country is engaged in intensive politics, especially like our country is right now, businesses are directly affected. The thing is, like all of us are politicians in one way or another because we have all these people that we support. We have all these political affiliations, that we are engaged in. So you'll realize that there are some people that even take a break from their work and they just engage in politics directly. Yeah, there's so many other businesses that can't actually run because of politics. Yeah, so either way, politics has a direct impact on the businesses. Yeah.
Okay. Petro, what would your message be to our leaders as this continues?
My message?
Yeah, message. And I know it's not a political message. It's not saying we're going left or right.
Of course.
It's just basically, what would you have to say to them because you feel the pinch on the ground?
Of course. The message is, okay, let's end with this final ballot. Let's go back working.
To normal.
Yeah, to normal. I don't want we forget that on last May, according to the international ranks for economic markers, Kenya was, until last May, was the third economy in sub-Saharan Africa. Now it's become the fourth. Because this country is one year of electoral campaign.
So that does not help our economy at all.
Of course, but this is normal. This is normal. I mean, because campaign is campaign. And so every election involves everyone, from the small ward to the president.
Right.
So it's normal that the economy has to stop a bit, But now it has to finish.
And I think also that when it's prolonged too long, then it
that's the matter. Yeah, all the feelings of the tourists, but for any business, for investors, for everyone's feeling where okay, now it's gone, it's done. And so we start up. Then they say, no, it's not done.
So the Supreme Court ruling. And would you say there's a significant change from the time of the ruling? Is that when maybe things now suddenly, people felt like, okay, let's withdraw from 1st September?
Yeah, 2 or 3 days after.
2 or 3 days after.
It was more or less immediate.
Okay. Anthony, without necessarily giving exact figures, would you say that your business has halved, quarter, I mean, in terms of your supplies? What exactly has changed?
Yeah, before I answer your question, I think I would also want to send a message to the political leaders.
Yes,
yeah,
please go right
ahead. I
ahead.
think that's very important. Politics come and go. Our constitution says that after every 5 years we have to go into an election. So I think our leaders have to realize that it is really important that they respect the institutions that are there, that have been put in place by the Kenyan people to guide us, because at the end of the day, we are so many people and we will not agree on how we run the country. But with the respect to the institutions, I think everything will be okay. So the politicians from the top leadership to all the citizens, we have to respect all these institutions, whether it's the Supreme Court, whether it's the IEBC, whether all these institutions. When we respect them, we'll just coexist in a very, very peaceful environment. We will not have business being affected. Yes. Now, on to your questions. On to now your question. For us, our business, I can't really say it's been halved. The impact has been halved or quartered.
Has halved the
yes.
income.
Yes, but to be honest with you, we have been affected. We have been affected. Even the employees that we have right now, there's a direct impact. If you talk to them, even if they come to the office and they're working, I mean, you can see it in the people in the people's faces. Yeah.
But have you had to maybe lay people off? Have you had to cut down salaries? What is it that has been affected to a point you can say this is quantifiable?
Okay, so for us, we haven't had to lay anybody off, but we've had to delay salaries. We haven't had salaries, but in so many instances, we've had to delay with people's salary, which is really not good.
Yeah, and that affects also the morale, and people, begin to feel very discouraged.
Exactly.
Michael, any effects that you can quantify and say this is what we have had to do as a business directly that has affected us negatively?
Clearly, for starters, there's been a reduction, in the monies that people are spending. And I don't know whether that affects the general economy, which I feel could be
I'm sure it does. Once the circulation of money is not there, it definitely affects the economy.
So it's a general feeling that there's a reduction, a marked reduction, of probably slightly more than half, of the revenues. But then, as a business owner, you have to think, if you satisfy your clients, then what need is still out there? What need is still out there? What can I go out there and do? One of the advantages is if you've grown the business and it's strong on relationships, then you'll be able, like we have done, you'll be able to survive this particular period. But again, business, you have all manner of clients who come in. There are those who are the first-timers, there are those who are there, repeat businesses. So in terms of the guys who come in, the first-time business guys, that has reduced. The loyal customers are still there. The loyal customers are still there. And then our business is mainly servicing Nairobi. And when we have any disturbance of any form.
Like we're likely to have this coming week.
With
Monday and Friday being protest days.
Yes, when we have any disturbance of any form, people will stay out. Yeah, people will stay out. So it means you've lost the revenue for that day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Now, hotel bookings in Kenya remained up as this political period continues, and the country held elections in August, a decade after a disputed presidential poll led to the violence and left the vital tourism sector on its knees. Tour operators and hoteliers are worried, though, that the presidential rerun slated for October the 26th may hurt the industry if political violence erupts in the country.
Jamaa wanawaambia cartels.
There always will be violence. I mean, we have violence in England on political matters, but it's always a certain section who will cause trouble at any time, whether it's politics or something else. No, I have no worries at all.
Kenya is a very beautiful, very nice country. I was in a big stress because I don't know how I will be feeling in this country, but now I am so happy.
The peak period, which happened to coincide with the elections, the peak period for the migration in the Mara and also the safari circuit, that happened in July and the entire August. We're still continuing with a bit of peak period in September, and then from October 15th it's going to slow down. We've not been affected in any way by the elections, for simple reason that the campaign period, the build-up to the elections, the election itself, all went quite smoothly, apart from a few pockets here and there, especially after the announcements. But by and large, even in the international media, there's nothing negative that was really picked out which will have forced anybody to reconsider their visit to Kenya. We are very worried, especially now that the presidential elections were annulled, and we have to go to a second elections, which means it's supposed to be the 17th, but again, there's a lot of debate whether it will happen, it should not happen. So generally, that is not good for business. And it is leaving everybody on the edge. You really don't know what's going to happen.
All right, and well, we'll now just have our closing comments. And let me start with you, Pietro, in terms of what possibly your expectation is. We only have another 24 days to go before we get to the elections. Hopefully, things stabilize and we are able to go, but maybe your closing comments.
Well, if the expectation that everything will end up well, and we go back to business. These are the expectations. We are confident for, really. And in this case, we are expecting good figures. The good figures were shown since last winter, January, February. Were shown last August. So we are expecting more and more figures. In the special case of our area, it's a new development. So this Jacaranda Beach, where is our Jacaranda Beach resort, is also expecting for new development, not for speculation. Development means to build, to increase figures for tourism, to increase jobs.
And that, of course, requires a very stable political environment for that to happen. Yeah. Do you think it would be too late if things go well on the 26th, or at least if things stabilize?
No. Actually, tourism is not so easy to predict.
Okay.
It's unpredictable. It's too much sensitive business.
All right. So it would be difficult to predict.
To predict, but more or less, I mean, since long time in this business. So sometimes I get what will happen. In this case, I'm very confident that we will be on time for sure.
For sure. All right. Let me come to you, Anthony. Your closing comments.
Yeah. Thank you so much. For me, I would really just hope that. The elections, the presidential elections, come very fast and it goes, so that we get out of all this political situation and stuff. Because for us to just pick up and go on and continue making our income, we need that peaceful environment, to be honest. And now with the demonstrations slated for Monday and Friday, we honestly don't even know, because most people don't even get to town when people are demonstrating, and that really hampers the business. Like for us, it affects us directly because we are located at the central business district. So you'll be tomorrow you'll be weighing.
You're not sure whether to even go to work or not.
Do I get to town or do I not get to town? Like for me, I have a client tomorrow. I have to meet the client at Thika Road Mall because he fears coming to town. Yeah, so it can only be my hope that we have an elected president as soon as possible. The country accepts the president and we move on. We wait for another 5 years.
Michael Kivindio, your closing comments.
Kenya is resilient. We have come back, from challenges before. I believe it's going to be the same case this time around. And what we are urging is that we have a peaceful election. And when we finish this, let's remember that all these things are tied. They're tied together. There's good governance that we expect even as business owners, to be able to run with. With good governance, it will mean there's an able environment for you to reach out to new clients. There's an able environment where businesses can do business with each other. So we are looking at the big picture, not just what is happening now. What is happening is important. Let it happen, and let it happen properly.
Right.
Let us finish well, come back, and build this country that we love.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that would be a good place to close. Thank you very much, Pietro Mastella. We also have Anthony Ogola and Michael Kivindio for joining us this morning. These are businessmen who are feeling the pinch of where we are politically speaking, but I think the message is the same, and that is let us finish, but finish well, and build this country that we love so much. It's now 28 minutes to 10. This is Weekend Express.